Thank you, Mayor Castro, and thank you for opening our eyes to the great opportunity that the Latino community has, as well as Americans in general. It's a very bright future. And now I'll reintroduce Cynthia Hudson, who will talk to us a little bit about CNN.
Thank you very much. I mentioned earlier that CNN en Español and CNN Latino are our new channel availabilities for the U.S. CNN Español, the 24-hour news cable channel, and CNN Latino, our new broadcast, broader reaching channel for the U.S. Hispanic market. So we have a quick video, and then we hope to enjoy the rest of the day with all of you.
In November of 2011, CNN en Español rolled out the most comprehensive and extensive channel reface in the 15-year history of the network. We evolved to offer new programs, new faces, and a new experience that would better position CNN en Español for an even brighter future. While we continue to shine as the premier 24-hour Spanish-language cable news network, we have designed CNN en Español to highlight a vibrant programming lineup with shows covering business, showbiz, current events, destination, and women's issues. We have also created franchises dedicated to debate, personal finance, and long-form investigative pieces, while continuing with our award-winning hard news coverage that has made us the leader in Spanish-language cable network news. Now, CNN en Español is proud to introduce a brand extension of our network, a cutting-edge broadcast product concept with original programming, fresh talent, and a few familiar faces that together uncover an untapped U.S. audience with brand new dynamic programming. Multicultural equals the new general market. The new general market equals the new America. The new America needs a new brand. CNN Latino.
Yo tengo una opinión.
Yo tengo una voz.
Yo quiero estar bien informado.
Information, actuality, entertainment. CNN Latino is an unwired network of affiliates which carry CNN Latino in programming blocks. Beginning with our flagship, full-power station KBEH Channel 63, which covers the Los Angeles DMA. We'll be expanding into key markets such as New York, Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Phoenix, plus other major U.S. cities over the next few months.
Yo estoy aquí.
Me quiero acercar a Colombia, Venezuela,
Argentina, Puerto Rico
y México.
Para saber lo que está pasando en mi país y en el mundo entero.
CNN Latino targets the U.S. Hispanic that is bicultural with a unique content and distribution plan and a clear goal: to be the premier Spanish-language broadcast alternative for the U.S. Hispanic audience. CNN Latino, the U.S. broadcast network that is empowering Americans to live the American dream. And CNN en Español, the premier 24-hour Spanish-language cable news network, taking viewers beyond the headlines to provide all the relevant news and information they need to stay ahead. CNN Latino and CNN en Español. We are your connection to the world.
Great presentation. Thank you. Well, now for some more excitement. I'm pleased to be joined by Jose Villa. I hope, where are you, Jose? President of Census. Oh, there you are. To introduce a Republican perspective from Rosario Marin, who was the former U.S. Treasurer under George W. Bush, and a very nice person. Met you this morning. So,
buenos dias. So we have a very exciting session going on this morning. A lot more excitement than you normally get in the morning. So we put on these two political discussions this morning for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, is to hear from a couple of very prominent, influential leaders in our community. We all know how important the Latino community is and how much we're growing, and it's important to hear from policymakers and folks that are influencing the national debate. But we also thought it would be important to hear their perspectives on reaching and engaging Latinos, particularly from the perspective of voting. As marketers, we don't usually think of political advertisement as an area that we can learn from. But I think there's a lot to be learned from the two perspectives and how they are engaging voters in a very low interest category in many cases and getting them in a sort of one-on-one basis to go out and vote. So I hope you're enjoying those different perspectives, and it's now my pleasure to introduce a fellow Southern Californian and a very inspiring and accomplished woman who, to tell you a little bit about her background, she started in the private sector, which is always a nice thing to hear from politicians. She started in the banking industry and then moved into politics in a couple of appointed positions in the state of California. She also ran for and was elected city council person in Huntington Park, California. Those of us in Southern California know that community very well, eventually becoming mayor. And then a number of years later, she was appointed the very prestigious position of U.S. Treasurer by the George W. Bush administration. She has since run for U.S. Senate in the state of California and has started numerous organizations in the Latino community. So please join me in welcoming Rosario Marin.
Thank you. Gracias, José. Ay, Dios mío. Bueno, pues, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Dios santo, estoy emocionadísima. El alcalde ya se fue. Everybody speaks Spanish here, ¿verdad? ¿Todos hablan español? Sí, qué bueno. Siempre, it's always an honor to address any kind of group. And so I was very, very flattered, and it's really an honor to address all of you today. And I got to tell you, I got a few stories for you. So, first of all, Roberto Orsi, que ya tenía tiempo. Gracias, Roberto, por tenerme aquí. Felicidades. You've done an amazing job with this organization. I've known him for a long time, which is interesting because I'm only 30 years old. So, Linda, thank you so very much. I got to tell you, she said red, white, and blue. She says she was wearing red, white, and blue because this is the political side. And I said, well, I'm wearing blue. You know, that counts. She said, well, you have the red, you know, the lipstick. And I said, okay. And I would have had white, except that I had to dye my hair. So I'm also red, white, and blue there. And Jose, gracias, Jose, por tu presentación. It's amazing. Usually when people introduce somebody, they usually have a big bio and all of that, and he did it all from memory. Pretty good, pretty amazing. I'm going to tell you a story because oftentimes I have been invited, and sometimes it's a debate, sometimes it's, you know, the Democrat goes first and then the Republican and so forth. And I'll tell you this story about this one particular time when I went to Loyola Marymount University in LA. And this wonderful friend of mine invited me to his political science class and invited two of us. At that point in time, both of us were councilwomen. And so he goes on and introduces, at that time, Jenny Oropesa. She's passed on now, but she was a colleague of mine from the city of Long Beach. And he introduced her with all these adjectives, all this wonderful, brought all the flowers and the sun and the moon and the stars about Jenny. And then Jenny went on and gave her presentation and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, and now I'm going to introduce you the oxymoron, a Latina Republican. Go on. And he went up to sit down, and I'm like, oh my God, nobody had ever introduced me that way, but I'm used to it now. I understand, especially when we go to some of these universities that are very liberal, you know, it's okay. But I went on and talked about why is it that I was a Republican, and I'm gonna do a little bit of that. I actually owe my being an elected woman to Democrats. I was a councilwoman in the city of Huntington Park. It's 99.99% Latino. 70-something% are registered Democrats. So the fact that most of them voted for me, it's something that I will always, you know, I will always treasure. Democrats vote for me, so that's awesome. That's something that I usually tell my Republican friends, and they sometimes listen. Most of the time, they haven't, and that's why we are where we are within the Republican Party. But it's okay, because the Republican Party has given me tremendous opportunities, tremendous. Only in the greatest country in the world, you can have somebody who couldn't even speak English when she arrived at the age of 14 and rise to become the treasurer of the country. This is the blessed United States. You know, I tell people that when we were crossing the border, when we had come from Mexico, I came here legally. At that point in time, there were companies that would go to Mexico and hire the labor. And they will fill out all the paperwork, and they did that for my dad. And 2 years later, that same company went to Mexico, soy la Ciudad de México, and filled out the paperwork for us to come. And so we came. And it was amazing. Actually, I didn't realize we were very poor until I came to the United States. And it was unbelievable. I would have never imagined crossing the border at that time, that one day my name would be stamped in every dollar bill. And so, you know, when I talk about the opportunities that are here in the United States, I am living proof that you can make it. And quite frankly, all of you are living proof that you can make it. Nobody gave me anything except the opportunity. It took me 7 years to get my 4-year degree. And I'll share this with you, because my mother, all she had was 6-year education in Mexico. When we came to this country and we finished high school, my brother and I at the same time, my parents, you can actually hear my dad saying, "I'm done. I'm so happy. My kids have made it." This is from graduation from high school. And I understand that because both my parents, all they finished was the 6th grade in Mexico. So for them to have their children, you know, have 6 more years of education was amazing. And it was a huge accomplishment for them. And so my mommy sat me down. Mijita, mira, hemos decidido que tu hermano algún día se va a casar. Va a tener que, he's going to have to support a family. So we've decided that he's going to go to college full-time, and to help with the house, he's going to work part-time. You, mijita, tú te vas a casar. A ti te van a mantener. Hemos decidido que tú, para ayudar a la casa, trabajes full-time. And if you want to go to college, then you do that part-time. And you know what? More than 30 years ago, that was okay. That's the way we grew up. It was our culture. I wasn't going to be talking to my mother about equal opportunities, gender equality, you know, like forget it. It was okay. It really was. I was like, okay, mommy, it's all right. So I went to work full-time. And I went to East LA Community College at night. You know, I had graduated in the top 20 students of my high school. Nobody told me that I could have gone with that kind of GPA. I could have gotten, especially because we were poor, I could have gotten grants or scholarships or even loans. And besides, that wasn't really an option because I had to help my family. So I did it the old-fashioned way. I worked for it. I paid for it. And I'm proud of it, you know? I owe nobody anything. But the opportunity. And so it took me, then I finished my high school, my East LA Community College, 4 years there. And then I transferred to the only other school that I could go, and that was Cal State LA. Anybody here from Cal State LA? Yes, thank you. Woohoo! I tell you, it wasn't enough So we started the master's program because I had been working for a bank, City National Bank. And everybody around me, they had masters, they were lawyers, they had law degrees. We had PhDs in economics at City National Bank. And everybody, you know, they had much bigger schooling than I did. So I was going with my master's. And my life was perfect. Actually, I should tell you, I started at the bank as the assistant to the receptionist. There's nothing lower below that, nothing. But the bank was very, very gracious. They were very generous. They started promoting me every 6 months. And 6 years later, I was going to be named assistant vice president for the bank. And my life was awesome. We had purchased our home. We had gone, you know, to Europe and all of that good stuff. And then the thing that we needed to make my life perfect, I mean, we're getting the MBA. It was awesome. Cars, we were yuppies at that time. Remember yuppies? The young, upward mobile professionals. When I say that, people think I was hippies. And I say, no, yuppies, okay? And life was really wonderful. I was on the top of the world. I was, you know, just making it, and I knew I was going to be vice president, executive vice president, president. I thought I was going to have my own bank. I mean, I had all these plans. But to make life perfect, we needed a baby. And the baby came. The baby came with Down syndrome. And my life changed dramatically. Eric was between life and death 6 times in 5 years. So forget about the MBA. Forget about my career. I had to give it up. I was making more money than my husband. But true to my culture, I was the one that would stay home and take care of my son. And my whole life changed dramatically. I lost a child a few months after Eric was born as well. And I wonder why God was punishing me this way. Why? You know, give up everything. Sell the house, just awful. I would go to sleep hoping that I wouldn't wake up at night in the next morning. And I did. And it was awful. But I now know that things happen exactly as they should. That had Eric not been born with Down syndrome, I would not have created a support group for Latino families that had children with disabilities. I would not have become the Chief of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Developmental Services and help change the laws in California. I would not have become the councilwoman of a city and the mayor. I would not have become the treasurer. I would not have run for the U.S. Senate and be the first Latina to do that in California. I would not have become the Secretary of State and Consumer Services Agency and helped the governor run California. So things happen for a reason. I believe that I wrote a book actually. I wrote a book about my life because people said, you know, people need to know your story, see what is possible. And I believe that my story reflects the fundamental truth about this country. You can work very hard. You can do everything you want in this country, but you do have to work very hard. Nobody is going to give you anything in a silver platter. But if you work hard, you play by the rules, it is amazing what this country can provide. And it is, you know, people say, well, why are you a Republican? You know, you're, you know, like the oxymoron. Let me hold on. I believe policy matters. I agree with the mayor. Policy matters. And so I shared this with you. When I became a U.S. citizen and I was filling out my registration card, the president of the bank was going by, and I'm filling it out, and I said, Mr. Kaiman, how do I register? And he peeps over, you know, and he sees registration, voter registration. He goes, Republican, honey, Republican. It's like, okay, Republican, you know. They didn't know. I didn't know any different. then I realized that, in fact, I was raised as a Republican, that everything my grandmother and my mother and my father taught me were very, very much in line with the conservative values that the Republican Party espouses. And so I'll share this other little anecdote. So a few years after Eric was born, about 10 years after Eric was born, I was given a very special prize at the United Nations. The John F. Kennedy Foundation gave me the Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy Prize for all the work on behalf. Gracias. For all the work on behalf of people with disabilities. And it was so funny because the executive director of the foundation, this is the senator and Eunice that are going to give me this award. And he says, okay, Rosario, so next week when you come, we're going to do this, this, and that, and blah, blah, blah. And we're talking about a whole hour about what's going to happen and who we're going to bring and blah, blah, blah. And everything is said. And then he says, Rosario, by the way, what's your political affiliation? Right now? I'm a Republican. Is that going to be a problem? Like, oh my God, I'm sure the senator is going to have quite a laugh when he realizes that his mother award is being given to a Republican. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So this being a Republican, and oftentimes people say, how could you be a Republican when the Latino community is a Democrat, and blah, blah, blah. And I believe that it's all about opportunity. I think that we have greater opportunities in the Republican Party than we do in the Democrat Party for Latinos. I'm concerned that we are so loop-sided that I'm afraid we are going to end up like the African American community, where 99% or almost close to that votes for the Democrat candidate. And it concerns me because I've been at the local, state, and the federal level, and I want our voices to be heard. And they will not be heard if we are so loop-sided. Let me tell you what has happened. You think that we have problems with unemployment and lack of education and lack of wealth? Look what has happened in the African American community. They have bigger challenges than us. They have bigger challenges than us. Their unemployment is higher. Their wealth lost in the last 5 years is bigger than ours. And we're pretty bad as a community. So we need people in the Republican Party. We need Latinos in the Republican Party. We need Latinos in the Green Party and the Libertarian Party and the Democrat Party. Because my wonderful other friends from other communities are very well represented in both parties. So they all fight for that one. But when we are either take it for granted or we're ignored. That is not good for us. And so I got to tell you, I'm saying things that I've said many, many times to different audiences, but I say this to my Republican friends as well. I hope that what has just happened, it provides a great opportunity for all of us. I really believe. I'm very optimistic. As a matter of fact, I tend to believe that everything happens as it should. And we, as a Republican Party, will learn and have learned. I believe we have. We have tremendous commitment now at the highest levels of the party with governors, and I've been talking to many of them, as to how do we reach the Hispanic community. I've been involved in five different presidential campaigns. I have been with many people making the decisions that sometimes I said, okay, that's not going to work. And I voice it. Actually, I have, in Fox News Latino, I have a column on a weekly basis. You can go in and check. I give it to the Democrats and I give it to the Republicans. I slap everybody around, equal opportunity slapping. What are they going to do to me now? They either take it or not, it doesn't matter. But I believe I will always speak for my community and what's in the best interest of my community. But policies do matter. We have a choice. You know, one party advocates for the government. The government is responsible for your success or for your failure. That's the government. That's one philosophy. That's not my philosophy. I believe that you are responsible for your success or your failure. And with every opportunity, thank you. With every opportunity comes a responsibility. And oftentimes we just want the opportunity, but we do not welcome the responsibility. I believe, mi abuelita, mija, si tú tienes éxito, el mérito será solo tuyo. She didn't say it'll be her merit. It was your merit. When you succeed, the merit will be all yours. You know, my dad, the strongest work ethic, the strongest. You know, my dad used to say, if you're on time, you're late. You need to be there before, and you need to be the last one out. I grew up like that. Yeah, nobody is going to outwork me. Nobody. None of my staff ever has. You know, nobody, and certainly not my opponent. You know, they're not going to outwork me. I will work very hard because I want to be able to enjoy the fruit of my labor. And oftentimes, you know, yeah, you can have a government that is responsible for you. And if you're not successful, it was because the government program wasn't big enough. No, I want you to work hard. I want you to earn it, because there will be a great satisfaction knowing that you got it, that you will enjoy it much more when you work for it than when somebody just hands it to you. So when it comes to the Republican Party, you know, many people, it's a gloom and gloom. We lost badly, Mitt Romney and blah, 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 and we've taken some hits and all of that. And all of that is true. But I got to tell you, when you're looking at opportunities, did you know that we had 30 Republican governors? 30. Out of those 30, 26 have both the House, the Assembly, and the Senate. All of those, if I was you, I'll be looking at all those governors. I'm serious. You know, talk about opportunity. You want to reach the Hispanic market? This is what we can do. 30 states. Look at it. Yeah, most people say, well, the number of Latinos. Of course, California. I mean, California has how many? 14 million people, Latinos, 38%. That's the highest. But New Mexico has only 1 million, and yet it's 47%, 1 million Latinos, and that accounts for 47% of the state's population. So we have great opportunities. In the Republican Party, and the mayor said it, we have 2 governors, Latinos. We used to have 3, con Luis Fortuño, de Puerto Rico. But we have Susana Martinez, the first woman governor, and she happened, Latina, first Latina woman to be a governor of a state. She happens to be Republican. Governor Brian Sandoval from Nevada, a Republican. You know, we have Marco Rubio in Florida, senator. We have 2 senators. The first woman, congresswoman, was a Republican, Ileana, Latina. So what I'm saying is that we actually have tremendous opportunities to actually get our message to the Hispanic community. And I try really, really hard. Yeah, of course, California right now, we've lost it badly for a number of reasons. A campaign is not won or lost for one reason. I've been in campaigns for 20-something years now, which is amazing because I'm only 30. So,
But we have some challenges, and yet I see it as opportunities. See, I am of the belief, and this is Wendell Holmes James. He was a Supreme Court justice. He said that whatever lies ahead of us and what lies behind us is small compared to what lies within us. And I have taken that, and that's my mantra. I believe in that so very much. Regardless of what challenge I have, I know I'm bigger than what I have in front of me. I know it. And so whether it's the Republican side, I see opportunities. I see great opportunities. There's a commitment now to spend $10 million very early on to get to the Hispanic community. Today we have voices that we never had before, and I'm part of all of those. We have the Future Majority Project, the Republican State Leadership Committee. We have the Hispanic Leadership Network. We have Libertad out of the Heritage Foundation. We have the Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles, organizations that did not exist even 2.5 years ago. So we have, and there's a commitment, a tremendous commitment with money to help get our message out. And for the Republican Party, the message is a good one, but we had very poor messengers. And that's just the way it is. So we're trying to get more and more messengers. There's, in Massachusetts, a senator running, a Latino Republican running in the primary. We are scouting the country to run Latino Republicans everywhere. And that's what I'm saying. You guys are interested in that? There is going to be a lot of opportunities to run campaigns to get to the Hispanic community, to get Hispanic elected Republicans. There is money behind that. And so I believe, more than anything else, I believe in the power of our community. Not because we are a hand-me-down, even though right now the numbers are really sad. As you know, 50% of graduating students, period, forget about Latinos, 50% can't find a job. We have the greatest number of underemployed people than ever before. Latinos in welfare, I mean, that's like an oxymoron to me. Latinos don't come to get in line for welfare. They much rather get in line to get a job. But the jobs are non-existent. And I am concerned, and you should all be concerned, because we have created policies that minimize and actually almost destroy those opportunities. You know, in spite of all of this, the Latino entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well, in spite of all of this. But if your agencies have more than 50 people, I bet you're not hiring. If nothing else, you're going to go below that. That's sad. That is sad. If you're a small business, you ought to be concerned of the policies that Washington is imposing on you. You know what I'm talking about. You know, I just paid my taxes like most of you did in April the 15th. I pay more taxes this year in California than I ever have, the percentage of taxes. Why are they punishing the success? Why? You should all be concerned about that. Policies do matter. And for all the great speeches, at the end of the day is who believes in you, who believes that you have the power to make your own decisions and what is best for you and your family. The Republicans, we believe that you do. We believe that you should be empowered to make the decisions for you and your family, not government. Because an expansive government requires more money from you. At the end of the day, it's about who lets you keep more of your money in your pocket. And if you're a business, and I suppose all of you are, you want to be able to make decisions instead of having all these policies and procedures and regulations that prevent you from expanding. You know, I've been talking to a number of people in California. people that used to make donations to Republicans, and I would go in and talk to them. And they say, we're not giving you, Rosario, money for Republican candidates. And it's like, why? Because we're leaving California. They're leaving. They're going to other states where there are more opportunities. They're going to the states, you know, those 30 states that have far less regulations. They're going to Texas and Nevada and New Mexico. They're all run by Republican governors. So at the end of the day is who's going to give you the ability to succeed on your own. And I believe, more than anything else, that the Republican principles provide that opportunity. Now some people say, oh, Rosario, but Tom Tancredo, you know, it's the voice of the Republicans. When I hear that, it's like, yeah, it's like saying that Anthony Weiner is the voice of the Democrats when it comes to women values, you know? It's a voice. But we have many more voices. And I believe, in the end, it's going to be for all of us to do the best thing that we can for our country. Now, let me tell you, I'll share this story to end. When I was a councilwoman, and it was right after 187, I was running for re-election. Actually, it had just passed 187. And in my city, we had, during Halloween, we had a gangbanger that killed an 11-year-old, Erika Estrada. And I didn't know what to do. I was working for the governor as well. But the gangs had overtaken my city. Really, they had. And so it's like, what am I going to do? This is terrible. This is horrible. What can I do? I said, I'm going to bring the governor here. Bring in the Governor Pete Wilson to Huntington Park. Okay? You can only imagine what the radio did to me. But that wasn't so bad. I had a colleague of mine from a surrounding city that came, a Democrat Latino, that came to my office, and he closed the door and he said, sit down. I was like, wow, okay, all right. I sit down and he says, mira, mijita, another one. Every time I hear mira, mijita, it's like, oh my God. Mira, mijita, tú traes a ese diablo aquí, and you can kiss your political career goodbye. Wow. And I said, you know what? You're right. You're right. If I only think of my political career, I don't bring him here. I won't even take a picture with him. But what kind of a public servant will I be if I put my political career ahead of the lives of the children that are dying on my streets? You know, I brought the governor, and he gave us 3 helicopters, and I brought the Attorney General and the DA, and we took our city back, you know. And when people reelected me, I was the highest vote getter in my city. They didn't care that I had brought the devil. They only cared that my city was safer than ever before. You know, I will do everything that I can to advance what is right. I will always have the best interest of my community at heart, always, always. No matter where I am, no matter what I do, no matter what title I have or whether I don't have a title. I know what I need to do, and I'm going to do it if I'm the only one standing. And I can tell you, I may be a lone voice, but I'm loud. And I will take my message, because ultimately I want the same thing that all of you want. I want a better opportunity for the generations behind me. That's all we want. That's all I want. I believe that it is through the Republican Party that those opportunities lay ahead. I believe that. But for those that disagree with me, thank God. Let's work together because our community needs us. They need us to be a voice. And I will be that voice if I am the lonesome voice. I will continue to be that because I believe in my community more than anything else. And I believe that we come here to contribute if we are allowed. And I do believe wholeheartedly that the Latino that will be the President of the United States has already been born. And maybe we have already heard from him. God bless you all. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you so very, very much.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Do we have time for questions?
Nobody.
Perfect. So now's your chance. We have a question over here.
Hi. Thanks for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
I took, among the messages that you just sort of shared with us, I took two away, and I'm having trouble reconciling these two. One message is handouts are bad. People should work for what they get, and therefore they'll enjoy it more. But the other one I heard was that the Republican Party is scouring the country with pockets full of money, looking for Hispanic Republican candidates to fund. How is that not handouts for otherwise potentially undeserving candidates?
So one, you need money to run. So many people, including me, many people, we cannot fund our campaigns. We don't have the money to run. And so there are these efforts, the Future Majority Project, the Republican State Leadership Committee. That's what they do. They're just like any other PAC. And we need to find, and we're scouting the country. Last cycle, we wanted to have, our goal was to run 100 Latinos across the United States. We ended up with 125 Latinos. And you need money. And some of these people wouldn't be able to do it if they don't have the support. When it comes to welfare, I believe wholeheartedly that Latinos, that's the last thing that they want. I believe that. When you don't have another choice, you go to get in line. But I believe that they much rather, I want to believe that they would much rather get in line to get a job than get in line to get welfare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a question over here.
Rosario, hola, mi nombre es Alba, de Madre a Madre, bravo, porque es ese corazón que tu abuelita, tu mamá, tú, a todos los advertising agencies, es súper importante informarle a los sponsors, a las compañías, que educación es súper importante. Yo sé que ustedes me han escuchado que yo soy la latina que representa un producto que creció de 2 a 12 sabores. ¿Por qué? Porque le están hablando al corazón de las madres. Okay, las madres son las que hacen todo el trabajo, day in and day out. Yo también he sido un homeschool mom y ahora soy vicepresidente de un race team. ¿Por qué? Porque me dediqué sin dinero. Sí se puede hacer mucho sin dinero, gente. Es el mensaje, no el money backing it up. Sea que los republicanos estamos en minoría y los demócratas, no importa. El mensaje es el que toca el corazón. Y bravo, que ojalá que salgan más Rosarios de acá.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Charlie Ibarra. I'm from LA City. Not Cal State LA, but UCLA. and I agree with you that I, as a Latino, was raised Republican. There's a lot of alignment with values that Latinos have with Republicans' values. However, there's a massive disconnect that I think, or a divide, that is wedged in through a constant stream of negativity, divisiveness, and sometimes cold-blooded racism that we see from the Republican Party. What are Latino leaders, or what can Latino leaders like you do to impact the party and move it forward?
Well, I don't know if some of you probably listened to TV and follow some politics, but I belong to the Hispanic Leadership Network. I'm on the advisory board with every major Latino Republican office, Brian, Senator Rubio, even Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush is really a Republican. I'm sorry, is really a Latino. He just doesn't know it now. Jeb Bush is actually the promoter of Hispanic Leadership Network. And what we did when we knew that there was going to be all this immigration reform, the bill was going to be presented and so forth, a few days before that, we actually sent out a memo to every congressional Republican congressman. And, we thought it was going to be confidential. Well, the moment it came out, it was immediately on every single TV, radio, that we were attempting to educate as to how we talk about immigration reform. Because quite frankly, some of our Republican friends, have said some really nasty things. And I have called on them, and I have told them how painful it is for me to hear some of the statements that they have made. And I'm a Republican, but I will not condone any of that. So we educate them. We actually have a lot of meetings. Some of the organizations that I mentioned, we are going to the Congress people. More than anything else, though, they are willing to listen and to hear, and they're coming to us. What do I do? How do I do it? We have met with all kinds of, I don't know how many, there were like 12 people running in the Republican primary. I talked to, I think, the vast majority of them. I think I only didn't talk to a couple of them. But they all they're interested. They get the message. And I think that really benefits us more than anything else. More than benefiting the party, it benefits Latinos. So there are efforts underway. But more than those efforts, there's the willingness now to listen and to go about it trying to do something different than what has been done before. So I'm very hopeful, very, very hopeful. Okay.
Last question.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Colte Vasquez, and I walked in your shoes in New York, so I'm really proud.
Good for you.
And as someone who's been on the other side of the fence, but holding your same position in New York, I have to just tell you that you have been a model for someone who really represents Latinos, regardless of partisan politics. And with that, my dear, the burden is on you. Because if we are going to unify and get people to, so my thing to you is, I was going to ask you about your education process. How is it that you're educating your party, who needs to have some affinity with this population, and they've not done a very good job of that? What are the steps that they're taking, and also what's the burden on you as a leader who has been able to bridge that? How are you going to keep doing that? Because it's a real quandary for the Republican Party.
It is, but like I said, before I used to be like one voice. Now we have far many voices. We have Brian Sandoval and Martinez and Marco Rubio, who has done an incredible job. An incredible job. Do you know that he was the only senator that was asked by the 7 Sunday shows when the bill went to the Congress? He was the only one that was invited. I mean, he has been the leader in this immigration debate, more articulate than any of the other senators, people who have been dealing with this issue for 20 years. And he has the stature, he has the credibility, but more importantly, I believe he has the passion. He believes that this is the right thing to do. And I am only too honored that I serve with him on the Hispanic Leadership Network. Should this happen, and I pray to God that we have immigration reform, I think that we will owe a tremendous debt of gratitude, more than anybody else, to Marco Rubio.
We have one last, and I know we're running extremely late, so on behalf of AHA, and I know Linda will part of the board, I think that regardless of political lines, what you and Julian really bring to the table is that we truly do need more Hispanics to really bring those experiences. Regardless if you're Republican, I think that it's really sort of, a hybrid, because there are the values, but I think that at the end of the day, the Hispanic cause is not in Washington yet, and you really bring forth that commitment through those experiences, but it's really about affecting education.
Yes.
You've got to affect finances. How do we educate? So, our communities can only prosper. Like you said, if maybe your parents would have known more about the educational system, you could have gone a lot further in other educational institutions. So, small businesses, those are 3 key pillars that do influence Hispanic communities, and I think that both the Democratic and Republican Party should come together and really bring that forth in policy making.
Yeah. Well, let me just share with you one of the things that one of my standard speeches when I talk to the Republicans, and when I talk about immigrants. The Republican Party really feels strongly about the small business, the medium-sized business. They feel very strongly. They believe that this is the engine of America. This is what needs to be provided opportunities so that the businesses grow. And when I talk about the immigrants, I said this: there is no greater entrepreneur than somebody that is willing to risk their own lives to make it to this country. You want entrepreneurs? Just look at the millions of people that come. Because isn't that what an entrepreneur does? They risk everything. And these people come to this country because they believe that they will have the opportunity. They're willing to risk everything. There is no greater example of entrepreneurship than those immigrants. And I'm one of them, and I know many of you are. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Muchas gracias. Once again, thank you, Rosario.